so let's start by defining your organisation. Can you tell us a bit more about the Barbican Theatre?
Yeah, so we're from the Barbican Theatre. We're a tiny little community-led theatre on the Barbican in Plymouth. And we really focus on youth-based work, community work, and kind of meeting the people of Plymouth where they're at, as well as putting on some shows as well.
So what would be really great is if you could share some of your key learning or things you've taken away from those workshops on intersectionality.
For me, it was like very much how we take our knowledge of EDI and intersectionality and put it into practice and make it like applicable to our organisation. So I feel like a lot of the time when we do training, we learn loads and then we're like, and what next? So I really appreciated that every single bit of learning had like really practical applications to it that we were able to look at and tailor towards our organisation as well, because rather than just having a kind of blanket thing, because every kind of work-based industry is different and arts and culture is so specific and has such a high percentage of people with protected characteristics invested in it and finding that as their safe space. So we really do owe it to them to be as good as possible. So having that practical application, being able to put it into practice, pretty much being able to come off of each week and then be like, well, how do we put this into practice? Well, this is how we do it. And providing that framework was really useful. Actually, we've got an away day planned where we're going to bring the whole team together and we're going to go through every single bit of policy and make sure we are up to date, make sure our training is up to date, make sure we are following best practice and doing all of that. And to kind of start off with, what I've done, so I'm the organisation's safeguarding lead, and I've gone through our entire safeguarding policy and added sections specifically about how to safeguard global majority, young people, LGBTQIA plus young people, disabled young people, care experienced young people, and actually going through each point of policy that we have in our agreement and being like, well, how can it actually, if these identities intersect, like what does safety then look like?
Just to add, because I completely agree with what Dulcie said about like the practical challenges that we undertake. It's about holding the conversations. I think the name of the program is conversations, and actually being able to structure and manage how to have those conversations either internally in our own organisation, or what I really appreciated was that it was a meeting of the arts organisations in Plymouth, and it was about creating that network, holding those conversations, learning from other places and sharing best practice and learning from each other. So I really valued that was a space for that. And hopefully the change will start showing in what we're programming, what we're delivering across the city, not just for one organisation.
Thinking about intersectionality, sometimes that could be a bit scary. So maybe you can share some of the barriers or fears you've had before we started the workshop, and we maybe a bit more about how we can address them as well.
Yeah. So speaking from quite a personal place, I have protected characteristics that overlap, that need to be looked at intersectionally, and it's sometimes really, really difficult to broach those conversations with people who do have protected characteristics but maybe don't understand intersectionality, and being able to navigate that without making someone feel like their own lived experience is being belittled or reduced in some way. And I think it's, especially when we talk about things like privilege, it's a really tricky conversation to navigate, because it's very hard to tell women that they have privilege because they might be white, or working class people who live on the poverty line that they have privilege because they are a man. Like, they're really difficult things to say, and it can be really tricky to navigate that without upsetting someone or making someone feel as if their lived experience is being dismissed. So being able to talk about intersectionality and look at the way actually how different people's lived experiences might overlap actually, and it might have a knock-on impact on how they are able to engage with various things.
Yeah, and I think through the workshop we talk about privilege and demystify it. I think it's so important people realize that we all have privileges in different areas of our life, and to recognize them and like not feel ashamed, but just also acknowledge them and use them as power as well, to be an ally and all this. So we talked about being proactive in the space and the importance of being proactive when we want to be inclusive. So it's not all on people to disclose. We are already showing by making our policy inclusive, our language in our jobs ad or our recruitment. So we are signaling that we actually care about inclusion, that we have an intersectional lens, so people are more likely to disclose or help. Maybe there's more you want to say about that.
Just looking at our recruitment practices as well, because I think I had a call out for freelancers in at some point during our sort of regular workshops, and I did look at the call out that I held and tried to look at it through an intersectional lens. So that was really helpful that I was receiving that training whilst also putting call outs out for people to work with us as freelancers. And I'll continue to look at our process and also invite feedback from our process as well. That's something that I feel that if we're not consistently getting feedback from the people that we are engaging with or working with, or, that we're inviting through our doors to come and watch shows that we put on, then we're never going to evolve and change as people do. So always inviting feedback and how it felt to be part of whatever process it was that we were delivering.
And then as a final kind of question, thinking about tips, if you had any tips you want to share with another small organization who wants to go on this journey, maybe hesitant, what would you share?
I would say it's not your typical training, which is brilliant. Typical training doesn't tend to work for me. I don't think it really works for a lot of people. People are different from how they were 100 years ago. So recognizing that when we are trying to learn is really important to make things make sense. I really appreciated the structure of the workshops. I really appreciated the content, but the delivery of how of the learning was done in a way that felt really accessible and inclusive, which I really appreciated. I don't do well sitting in front of a screen of like 800 PowerPoints with information on, and not at any point was that the experience that I had. It was active. It was so many opportunities to reflect, to hold conversations, activities, engaging, structured topics, topics to discuss, and that meant that what was being shared went in better. It embedded better because it was done in a way that was far more inclusive than being sat in front of PowerPoint and someone talking for 3 hours. So thank you for how you delivered it, because it did make it palatable, interesting, engaging, and I feel like it has stuck, which it wouldn't have if it was delivered in a more traditional training method way.